Hello and welcome, dear Märklin fans. As you can easily see, we're right in the middle of the Märklineum here in Göppingen, where we just had the presentation of new items for 2026. Some of those new items we want to present you now in this film. And please note that the items shown are just hand samples. And so, enjoy.
Steam locomotives from the early years of the German Federal Railroad have their own unique charm. Many of them were given a completely different look with new boilers, which also made them fit for many more years of service. So it's no wonder that the resourceful product managers in Göppingen are turning their attention to such machines.
In den Neuheiten für das Jahr 2026.
A newly developed steam locomotive is a must for the new item range for 2026. And you have presented a truly impressive model.
Ja, wir haben uns für 2026 die Schnellzugdampflokomotive der Baureihe 0110 mit dem Neubaukessel vorgenommen.
Yes, for 2026 we have decided on the 0110 series express train steam locomotive with a new boiler, which is largely a new design. A few years ago we made the insider model, the 0110, with an old boiler which only ran for a few years. And now, logically, the version with the new boiler is following. We have also come up with a very nice train for the locomotive, the D74 express train, which was in service in the 1950s, running from Hamburg-Altona to Basel. And we are playing on the section between Frankfurt and Basel SBB.
Streckenabschnitt zwischen Frankfurt und Basel SBB.
From 1953 onwards, the three-cylinder engines were fitted with newly constructed welded boilers. These were installed at the Braunschweig repair workshop and proved their worth. The CAD design already reveals a lot.
Wir haben ganz besonders natürlich den dynamischen.
Of course, we have the dynamic smoke output, and we have a four-part car set, which also includes the new design of the mail and luggage car, which we are introducing here for the first time in the DB version.
Sehr schön.
Very nice. I imagine that the DC faction will also be considered. Absolutely. The locomotive and the car sets are of course also available for tricks in DC versions. With a total of 8 cars, you can form a long express train that goes wonderfully with the 0110. Thanks to current conducting close coupler heads and built-in interior lighting with buffer capacitors, they will be a real eye-catcher on any layout. Dear Marco, how is it possible that a locomotive is given a name from the animal world, namely Papagei?
Es ist ja nicht die einzige Lokomotive in der Eisenbahnwelt.
It's not the only locomotive in the railway world to be named after an animal. We can see it behind us. But with the locomotive we now have in our new products range, I assume that it's simply because of its appearance, because it's a colorful bird, so to speak, a really very striking, attractive steam locomotive.
Also wirklich eine sehr, sehr auffällige, sehr attraktive, schöne Dampflokomotive.
And it has been given the nickname Papagei, parrot.
You
are doing that. What will the technical inner workings look like? As you know from the steam locomotives we have designed recently, this locomotive will also be highly detailed. It will have pulsed steam output. We have cab lighting and engine lighting. We have recorded an authentic sound. Everything is very delicate and very detailed. Will Trix fans get it too? Absolutely. The locomotive will of course also be available in the Trix range. And when it comes to locomotives based on Czech models, it has to be said that the Trix version is even more important than the Märklin version. We had the Albatros, which was also a beautiful locomotive. I think the market welcomed it with open arms. Definitely. And we saw how many locomotives went to Czechia. So let's look forward to the Parrot. What now rolls into view can hardly be described in words. It is the Big Boy, a giant locomotive from the US and an half-hour model that has been extremely popular with Märklin enthusiasts around the world for years. The heavy metal construction is equipped with the Spielewelt digital decoder MFX Plus and 27 operating and sound functions. The showpiece, which is over 46 centimeters long, is available in a strictly limited edition of 1,776 copies worldwide. This number has a historical background.
Im Jahr 1776 haben sich die
In 1776, the United States of America broke away from the Crown and declared its independence. That was 250 years ago. To mark this occasion, we are launching the Big Boy as a gold-plated model, coated with 24-karat fine gold, in exclusive packaging in a display case, which will include a background image. And with this fantastic model, this gigantic machine, we are celebrating this anniversary. 250 years of independence of the United States of America.
Unabhängigkeit der Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika.
Back to Germany. With the Class 52, we encounter a hard-working workhorse that was once built in large numbers. It was mainly used for freight transport. Several locomotives were given a special tender.
Ja, was versteht man eigentlich unter...
What exactly is a solid frame tender? Why did it exist?
Ja, der Steifrahmentender.
The solid frame tender, as you can see in the model, has no bogies. This means that the wheels are rigidly mounted in a frame, although in our model they can of course be moved slightly sideways, so that you can negotiate the corresponding radii. But typically there are no bogies under the tender. Another special feature is the slope of the coal box, which slopes down toward the front of the cab. The tender was also available in a riveted version. What do you attach to the locomotive?
Ja, man könnte jetzt zum Beispiel diese
Yes, you could attach the new two-axle tank cars, for example. That would be a nice train combination. But I think that even in the normal Märklin range there are one or two cars that are ideal for attaching to the locomotive.
Lokomotive angehängt zu werden.
A machine that should be welcome to all fans of Era 3. It will also be included in the Trix range. Following the Class 52, the Class 80, a very popular steam locomotive, is returning to the range in a thoroughly revised form. Now there is a clear view through the driver's cab. A smoke generator provides steam and a buffer capacitor ensures smooth running. A telex coupler at both ends enables precise shunting.
Wir bleiben bei Dampflokomotiven.
We remain with steam locomotives in Europe and are now at home in Belgium.
Im Jahr 1926 wurde die
The SNCB was founded in 1926, so it makes sense to mark this anniversary with a Belgian locomotive, namely the Series 1. The first Series 1 locomotive was delivered in 1935. It is a locomotive with a lot of character. It was designed and manufactured in Belgium. Its appearance differs fundamentally from all other common locomotives. The slanted smoke box and the very smooth-looking boiler, because the pipes run under the cladding, give it the appearance of a streamlined locomotive. But it is not actually a streamlined locomotive.
Verlaufen hat so die Anmutung, als ob es eine Stromlinienlok wäre, ist aber keine Stromlinienlok in dem Sinn.
An icon of the Belgian railway. The model version of the Series 1 reproduces the prototype locomotive, which is unfortunately no longer operational and can be viewed in the Chemin de Fer à Vapeur de Trois-Vallées Museum in southeastern Belgium. A small switcher locomotive is also among the new items from Märklin and Trix.
Die V60 beziehungsweise jetzt hier die Baureihe 260.
The V60 or Class 260 in Era 4, and we are playing in the year 1980. The locomotive has an ocean blue and ivory color scheme. It is a variant of the design compared to the new construction in Era 3 that we launched on the market. It differs in that the ventilation grills at the front area reflect the reinforced shape. We have the modern cooling water gauge at the front. We have wind deflectors on both sides of the side windows. We also have a wide variety of antennas on the roof. These are the most striking differences in the Era 4 variant. We have also included the indusi on both sides, even though this is a switcher locomotive. Anyone who has Era 4 at home will certainly have suitable cars. So you can use any freight cars or passenger cars that fit the era. As I said, our model is set around 1980.
Oder auch Personenwagen nehmen, die in die Zeit passen. Wie gesagt, unser Modell spielt so circa 1980.
Back then, the three-legged, as the V60 was nicknamed, was omnipresent at DB. We're moving from a switcher locomotive to a mainline locomotive, changing countries once again and arriving in Switzerland. Switzerland is well known for its traditional electric locomotives, and now you have a completely new development.
Die AE35 wurde in den Jahren
The AE35 was built and delivered between 1920 and 1925 for the electrified lines in the Swiss lowlands. It is a completely new tooling of the locomotive, made largely of metal. We have a built-in buffer capacitor, cab lighting and driver's console lighting. As a little gimmick, we have also built in the switchgear flashing as a digital function. Here too we are presenting the Era 6 machine, namely the machine that is still on display in the museum in Olten.
Noch in Olten im Museum steht.
And that is even operational. Suitable cars are also available in the form of 3 SBB light steel carriages. We are now entering the next era of the railroad, with diesel traction taking center stage, and I believe the 218 is a classic that keeps reappearing.
A classic
that already offered many color variations during the DB era, both the Bundesbahn and later DB AG, not to mention the many private railway variants. And the 218 in particular also comes in the very striking Citybahn variant in pebble gray and pure orange. Back in the 1980s, a new concept was sought for the route from Cologne to Gummersbach. They didn't want to run a purely regional train there, so they revived the Citybahn theme. And to make it stand out from the normal regional trains, they chose this orange and grey livery. There was even something gastronomic inside. They were one of the first to offer something. Exactly. One car that also stood out visually and that we included in the set was the cafeteria bistro car, which clearly displayed what was available for purchase inside. There was also a special feature that resulted in unusual operating procedures. Of course, express goods were always carried on this route. There is a variant of our railway mail car, a very attractive and suitable car for this purpose. And there is an interesting story behind it. Because it was not possible to run train cables through this mail car, it always had to be carried at the end of the train. On a normal route, the train consisted of the locomotive at the front, then the middle cars, the control car, and finally the baggage car or express freight car. That still looked relatively normal. But when the locomotive was pushing and the control car was at the front, the express freight car had to be attached to the end again. This resulted in a curious-looking train configuration because the locomotive was no longer at the end of the train, but there was another car behind it. And you can recreate this wonderfully with our models. This also makes for entertaining switching maneuvers. For the control car with a Karlsruhe head, there will be a decoder for the first time that makes many switchable functions available. Also on board, a buffer capacitor. The popular red buzzer is rolling into the Märklin Classics range as an Era 4 vehicle. A new addition that has been requested many times. The rail bus comes as a motor car plus control car. The middle car will be available separately. Interior lighting will be included as standard. A buffer capacitor guarantees flicker-free lighting effects. Märklin enthusiasts greatly appreciate the reissues of legendary vehicle models. For 2026, the Märklin Dealer Initiative is releasing a one-off series of the Rheingold. A smart E10 will be the draft horse. This locomotive is based on a corresponding Märklin prototype model from the late 1960s, which never went into serious production. There is also a matching car set, consisting of 4 cobalt blue ivory-colored cars in the style of the 1960s models. The compartment car has a red train end light installed as standard. A set for enthusiasts.
Wir haben 30 Jahre.
We have 30 years of Märklin C-Track and 20 years of Trix C-Track. I think you remember how it all started back then. Well, it actually started a little earlier with the Alpha track. That was, so to speak, the test run for this new track system. Much of it was then transferred to the C-Track. Yes, and the geometry was then adopted to a certain extent from the Märklin metal track, at least as far as the smaller radii are concerned, radius 1 and 2. I think this track has advantages that we haven't had with any track system before, especially for those who want to quickly set up and take down their layout. We have this nice click here. Very important, just press together and then always inwards. But you can also pull it outwards. However, because many people are watching now, never press down, because then the plugs may break off. That's why it's always easiest to bend them inwards or outwards. Just set it up quickly and play. That's one big advantage. The other is that when you build a stationary layout, you quickly can enjoy the driving pleasure. There are no limits either. Thanks to modern materials such as Styrodur and so on, you can easily fill in and still ballast on the left and right. Some people even ballast in between, which requires a little more precision. Afterwards, you can't see the C-track anymore. So there are two options. That's the beauty of the track. We appeal to beginners, for example, those who are just starting out and simply want to play, as well as technology enthusiasts who simply want to build beautiful track geometries on a flat plate, and of course those who try to get as close as possible to the prototype. And that includes ballasting, but everyone achieves their goals. When you see it turn out like this, with its slender switches, it looks really elegant. That's the whole point. I mentioned ballasting earlier. Those who do this naturally want to create the most elegant track layouts possible based on the real thing. To mark the anniversary of the C-Track, Märklin and Trix are releasing some stylish vehicles, such as the Class 249 dual-power locomotive. Highlights include the double-sided telex couplers and the liftable and lowerable pantograph. The 3 Res-X cars are a perfect match for the locomotive. They are equipped with a rails load insert. Finally, a Class 220 locomotive in a fictional design by the DB Bahnbau Group is being added to the new product range. This makes track construction really fun. These models will impress you with their extra play value. One of the express train passenger cars has a special interior.
Ja, es ist schon ein paar Jahre her, da hatten wir einen Personenwagen im Sortiment.
A few years ago, we had a passenger car in our range with movement inside. It was mechanically implemented. Then we repeatedly received requests to reissue such a model or to make a new one. We have redesigned it, meaning that the movement inside is now electronic rather than mechanical. We chose an open seating car, a TEE open seating car. We are playing with Era 4, and a movable conductor figure is built in. The conductor figure has a base with magnets attached to it. The figure itself stands on a coil board, and the individual phases on the circuit board generate a magnetic field, which pulls the conductor through the car. From the outside, it looks as if the conductor is walking through. He walks through the center rail, and this can be switched digitally.
Durch den Wagen gezogen, sieht dann von außen so aus, als ob durchläuft. Und kann natürlich dann digital geschaltet werden.
The figure can also pause briefly to look at the tickets or gaze out of the window. Even our first prototype looks very realistic. A nice TEE can be put together using cars from the Märklin Classic range. A 103 naturally looks particularly good in front of this elegant train. The conductor's car can also run at the end of the train, as the rear lighting can be switched on separately at both ends of the car. From the TEE to freight transport, but only on the road for now. The railroad will come into play later.
Ja, Märklin hat in der Regel ja schienengebundene Fahrzeuge im Programm. Und jetzt bei den Neuheiten überrascht ihr eigentlich.
Märklin usually has rail vehicles in its range, and now you're surprising us with a new road vehicle that drives itself. Yes, the Mercedes-Benz 1620, a beautiful truck from the 1970s-80s, in collaboration with Carson. Carson had the idea, approached us and brought us a sample to see what we thought. And then the task for product management was, how can we turn this into a beautiful product, but not just so that you can drive the truck by remote control. It also has sound and, of course, light effects, with brake lights, headlights and so on. I'd say it's really fun to play with.
Da ist Spielspaß so richtig gegeben, würde ich sagen.
Do I need to practice to keep it on the track?
Ja, da muss ich schon ein bisschen trainieren, ne?
Yes, I do have to practice a bit. That's the challenge. Just like with a real car, you have to get used to it first. How much do I have to steer? You calibrate the steering using a small lever on the remote control. But then you quickly have a lot of fun, especially with the trailer. Reversing is a really challenging task. Just like in real life. Yes. Can you control the speed so that it starts slowly and then reaches Vmax? Just by operating the lever. It's the same as with remote-controlled race cars. We all grew up with them. You can drive fast or slow. A fun activity. The included radio remote control from Carson is easy to use. And now we go to the railway. What could be more obvious than the beautiful roller, as I always say, the rolling road, the depressed floor flat car from our company that you can drive right onto. As a product manager, you first have to check whether it fits on it at all. Maybe it's too wide, then it won't work, but it fits perfectly. And if you're handy, you can build a small ramp and drive directly onto the depressed floor flat car by remote control. It's really fun. We've all played around with it. It's really enjoyable. Every year during Advent, the Märklinium hosts the vernissage of the new museum cars, an event that has become a popular tradition, an evening that always has a surprise in store. The Märklin cars are sponsored by the Göppingen-based company Klemann, which operates heavy construction machinery worldwide. Alongside the Bully T1, there is a model with a brakeman's cab. This is the car in Gauge 1. The Zettis are also catered for, as are fans of the Trix brand. And of course, there is also a stylish car in 1:160 scale. As always, attractive models have been successfully put on the tracks. LGB's sponsor is the Deutscher Eisenbahnverein in Bruchhausen-Vilsen, which looks back on a 60-year history. A nice detail, brakeman Guido in his smart uniform. The applause is for a guest of honor who also has something to do with railways. The federal states are responsible for local transport. How are things going in Baden-Württemberg right now? In recent years, we have massively expanded local rail passenger transport and purchased many new trains because we want people to board attractive trains and feel comfortable there. One of them can be seen here in the model. We have also designed our trains to be uniform throughout the state. It is an appealing design. We have put a lot of effort into it.
I've
heard there's a model railway in the ministry. Do you go there often? No, because my office is a few floors higher and my path doesn't lead straight past it. But I'm always happy when I can show guests the model railway because it's a beautiful layout. We've put everything we're responsible for as a ministry into it. For example, the various areas from waterways to rail and bus transport. Everything can be seen there, and that's very nice. The evening held another surprise. Every year at the Vernissage, a special model from our history is launched on the market, either as a retro model or a replica. And this year it is the Märklin heraldic animal, the first interpretation of the Swiss crocodile in zero gauge from 1933-34 that is built again now. The magical designation of this locomotive is CCS 66 12920, where CCS stands for Coccodrillo Svizzero, the Italian name for the Swiss crocodile. The model from the 1930s is now a highly prized collector's item. Anyone who owns one can count themselves lucky. The product manager had to overcome a number of challenges in the new implementation. The crocodile, which can also be seen here at the Märklinium, was used as the basis for rebuilding this replica. It is made entirely of metal, die-cast zinc, so not tin plate, but completely die-cast zinc. And in terms of feel, we approached the mold design in such a way that it looks as if it were sheet metal. The appeal of this crocodile is simply stunning. It features modern digital technology and is available in a unique series of 999 pieces with a certificate of authenticity. This machine is very popular among railway enthusiasts. And it's a special locomotive, a kind of cult locomotive, the 03001. The smaller sister of the 01 series is designed for routes where the 01 couldn't run, mainly because of the superstructure, as it is lighter overall. But the 03 has cult status, so we just call it 03, and that's why we have the 03001 as a club model. It has newly designed cylinders with the pressure equalizer on top. This is something Minitrix has never done before. So here, too, our club members get a very special model, fully equipped, of course. This year, another class is celebrating its anniversary. 100 years of Class 44. What could be more obvious for Minitrix than to make the locomotive that stands in the yard? The 1:160 scale model will do justice to the powerful three-cylinder locomotive. The same applies to the replica of the 41-308. Let's jump forward to more recent times. Here comes a train that isn't colorful in terms of its basic color scheme, but the decoration on the locomotive and carriages make it look extremely colorful. You've shed some light on the reasons why you do this. You mean the graffiti train?
Den Graffiti-Zug, sagen wir mal.
Von dem spreche ich.
Yes, that's it.
Die einen sagen natürlich, okay, das
Some people say, of course, that it's not very nice, that it's just graffiti. Others say that nowadays it's art. Of course, it's art if I provide the space. As long as I just spray something somewhere, it's still property damage. Ultimately, however, model railroaders want to recreate the prototype in their models. And you see it everywhere. It started back then in Era 4. It was sprayed with color, much to the displeasure of some and the delight of others. Opinions are divided on this. This is something very special because it was a real bestseller in HFO in the 1990s as a special model at the Idee plus Spiel. And if you want to have this train in HFO today, you have to dig deep into your pockets. It still holds its value. Together with the Märklin Dealer Initiative, we decided that we would like to convert these HFO models to N-gauge, but as an art train in quotation marks.
Als Kunstzug in Anführungszeichen.
This set from DB Gebrauchzug in the tourist train paint scheme is also very colorful. With the 111 074 and 2 double-decker car sets, this train can be wonderfully replicated.
Die Spur 1 bei Märklin hat
Gauge 1 has a long tradition at Märklin, and of course Gauge 1 enthusiasts can look forward to a new item every year.
So ist es. Es ist eine DH500CA.
That's right. It's a DH500CA, a diesel locomotive with coupling rods from Henschel & Sohn in Kassel, a well-known locomotive and machine factory at the time. You could say that the locomotive was created in response to customer demand. The request was to make something affordable for those new to Gauge 1, or simply a small locomotive for small layouts and switching fun. And that's where the locomotive scores points. It is equipped with a telex coupler, digital and, of course, with sound. It even has separately applied brass details. It must be said, and it is also very well known because of its shape.
Auch aufgrund ihrer Form ist sie eben sehr bekannt.
In addition to the blue Henschel factory locomotive, 4 other variants of this machine will be added to the Gauge 1 range. The contrast between Gauge 1 and Z or Z scale 1 to 220 is always interesting. There are some new items here that even I am excited about.
Ja, okay.
Yes, okay, that's good to hear. We have a very prominent rail car, a high-speed rail car, namely the Rail Zeppelin. It was already available in Z gauge, but now it has been completely redeveloped as a bronze investment casting edition with a transparent protective coating. And because it is now heavier due to the bronze casting, it has wonderful traction. Then we're going on a trip with the 103 and the Luxon. For example, the 103 222 from the Munich-based company Rail Adventure. This train can be chartered. The Luxon also has a Michelin-starred chef on board, so anyone who charters the train not only travels through beautiful countryside and enjoys beautiful views, but also culinary delights. The 103 is just like the others we built before it, with a bell-type armature motor and the finest printing just like the original. In the past, you could also travel in a special train, which wasn't as high quality in terms of food as the one just described, but the view was better. Exactly. We're talking about the 491-001-4, better known as the Glass Train, which is joining our Mini Club range as a completely new design. The rail car has a Bell armature motor, and the windows provide a clear view of the interior. The glass dome, which makes it look so airy, is completely replicated and therefore very authentic. I think it will be a hit on many Mini Club layouts. The rail truck from the Vogtländische Maschinenfabrik Vomag for Era 3 is also a completely new development. It is powered by a Bell armature motor. The body is made of metal-filled plastic and bronze. The Class 52 has a top-style tender and features a complete and functional valve gear and functional coupling rods. It is equipped with a Bell armature motor. New LGB items for 2026. Sometimes the calendar is a helpful reminder, because there are anniversaries to celebrate. Exactly. Switzerland is celebrating a wonderful anniversary. The MOB is turning 125 years old. So, of course, we're making a highlight, our high-end metal locomotive. We are launching the FZE66 on the market. And there are 2 versions, one for Era 2 and one as a museum vehicle in its current operating condition. The models are fully equipped, so the sliding doors can be opened and closed digitally, for example. There are 2 car sets available to match the Era 2 model, which are perfect for recreating the Golden Mountain Pullman Express.
Das nächste Jubiläum
The next anniversary will be in Germany.
Genau, da feiern wir sogar 2 Jubiläen.
That's right, we're actually celebrating 2 anniversaries. First, the DEV, the German Railroad Association in Bruchhausen-Vilsen, is 60 years old. So we're launching a locomotive, the Spreewald, which we haven't had in our range for over 8 years.
Im Sortiment hatten.
It fits perfectly with the Museum Car 2026.
125 Jahre haben wir die Jagstalbahn.
The Jagstalbahn Railway has been in existence for 125 years. The Jagstalbahn ran between Möckmühl and Dörzbach. It was a small branch line that was spontaneously closed down in 1988, and we are recreating this very period in our model. In 1984, for example, the Niki S ran there. There will be 2 matching cars as well.
Gehen wir noch mal in die Schweiz.
Let's go back to Switzerland. LGB and RHB, there's almost a kindred spirit there, and you have lots of models again.
Modelle.
Ja, da werden wir 7 Neuheiten bringen.
We will be introducing 7 new products. And as always, we will also be offering a crocodile. This engine must always be part of the range. Once again, it is a high-end machine, a metal version. For one reason, the 415, which had this chameleon look, now has a brown color scheme again. And so we want to bring the model back onto the market, in the color scheme it currently has.
Nochmal auf den Markt bringen. Also die 415 in dem aktuellen Farbkleid, wie sie rumfährt.
But we also have a heavy freight locomotive, the GE662, with square headlights for the first time. The model represents the prototype in its last operating condition. And we also have matching cars for this beautiful locomotive.
Gut, kommen wir zum Schluss noch auf ein Fahrzeug, was
We now come to a vehicle that travels not only on rails but also on roads. A nice thing.
Ja, 30 Stück wurden an der Zahl hergestellt.
Yes, a total of 30 units were produced of the small KLV-20, the VW bus on rails. It was a railway service vehicle. We took special care to ensure that the 2 axles on the model make good contact. It has been fitted with a buffer capacitor and is digitized. It's just a cute little vehicle on the railroad.
Mal auf der Eisenbahn.
Further information on these and many other new items can be found here.